When you hear the term monumental sculpture, you probably think about Stonehenge, the Great Sphinx, Mount Rushmore, or the Statue of Liberty. These are all great examples that show us what monumental sculpture really is. It is art that is bigger than life and can survive for ages. It is no wonder that such sculptures attract the attention of millions and millions of people all over the world. From the prehistoric era to classic, neoclassic, and contemporary, monumental sculptures have filled us with wonder and remind us of how small we humans really are. This presentation can serve as an introduction to monumental sculpture. We will present to you a few artists and their sculptures. Like any other form of art, monumental sculptures are created to be enjoyed visually, but sometimes can be interacted with. These can pay tribute to historical events and people, or can just entertain. One example of excellent tribute sculpture is the work of American sculptor Daniel Chester French. His work includes the Minuteman in Concord, Massachusetts, which honors the rising of the citizens during the Revolutionary War, and seated Lincoln in the Lincoln Memorial. As we can see, all of his work is very detailed and has great realistic rendering. Materials used: marble. Style: neoclassic. From the 19th century, we jump to the 20th century, to the work of minimalist sculptors Richard Serra and Tony Smith. Tony Smith was trained as a painter and architect who in the 1950s turned to sculpture. He worked with simple geometrical modules on two-dimensional grids, always applying architectural principles. His great works include Willie, Spitball, Duck, Light Up, and Smoke, which is currently at LACMA. His work is in the collections of the Museum of Modern Art of New York, the National Gallery in Washington, D.C., and other leading museums. Materials used: steel. Style: contemporary minimalist. Richard Serra gives us art not only to look at but to interact with. Audiences who have had the privilege to experience his art do not only enjoy these visually, but are engaged with the surrounding space. His art includes belts, tilted arc, shift, torqued ellipsis, Charlie Brown, and his most recent sculpture, Cycle. Memory and time are important to this highly celebrated artist. He created a memorial to those who lost their lives in the Nazi genocide, his 1987 Berlin Junction. Some of his work is affiliated with the Museum of Modern Art in New York and is exhibited worldwide. Materials used: steel, lead. He experimented with fiberglass and rubber in his early years. Style: minimalist. Moving on to the pop art movement, we find the work of Swedish-American sculptor Claes Oldenburg. He has created enormous installations found in various cities. Through his art, he shows us the irony and humor of the most simple and common objects of everyday life. He has created colossal binoculars in Los Angeles, a gigantic clothespin in Philadelphia, a shuttlecock in Kansas City, and a huge stamp in Cleveland. Most of these were created in collaboration with his wife, Koos van Bruggen. Oldenburg's work is presented by the Museum of Modern Art and the Whitney Museum in New York.
a factory line. I'll ride across the park, backseat on the 79. Wasted days you come to pass.